Today, I'm going to unbag Rogers Rangers, America's first commandos. This is a solitaire game from Decision Games, part of their Folio series or mini game series in this regard, and it's also part of the Raider system. Is that enough qualifications for one game? Well, maybe, maybe not. I've covered some other games from the Raider system. I believe the Heroes of Telemark is in the Raider system, and I'll put a link to games I've covered. I have several in this series, but have not done videos on all of them. But they generally are, they're smaller games, hence the mini game series, and they are from Decision Games, and they all share a similar rule set with some special rules for the unique scenario. Now, this one right here is dealing with the French Indian War. And if you look at the back here, the French Indian War was raging along the frontier of Britain's North American colonies. American colonists fighting alongside British regulars developed a new form of soldier. The Ranger was at home with irregular warfare, dominating the contest for Upper New York and the St. Lawrence Valley. This solitaire game is part of the Raider game system. You command Ranger forces conducting missions as directed by strategy cards. You recruit leaders like Robert Rogers and units including historical Ranger companies and British light infantry. Then purchase weapons and tools to equip them. Each expedition leads you along the trails and rivers to engage French and Indian forces generated by the game system. Event cards bring in a wide range of actions, from the mobilization of enemy forces to wilderness challenges. You must overcome all of them to reach your objectives. There's an example of some of the counters there. And you can see here playing time is 60 to 90 minutes. Complexity is very low. Solitaire is very high because this is a solo game. See some of the cards here. The cards kind of drive the action, or at least drive the AI for the most part, and you can see there's a point-to-point map. I believe all the Raider systems are point-to-point map. As I said, the Heroes of Telemark, and I believe there's a Viking game that's dealing with the invasion of France, I believe, during the Middle Ages, the Viking invasion. But they'll have a lot of your charts and everything on the board. But enough of that. Let's look inside the bag and see what you really get here. And these are relatively fast playing, especially if you've played a few of them before. Then you're gonna figure out the system relatively quickly because they're all the same. See if I got everything out of there. Yeah, looks like I did. And so what you have here is you have your this is the Raider mini game system rules. This is going to be typical Decision Games rules. This is a triple column. It's all going to be black and white. You see unit information there. And this is a total of 4 pages. So 4 pages of rules is not much of an investment to get into a game. So there you have it. That's the standard rules that will apply to all the different Raider systems or Raider games. And then you have the specific rules in this case, which is for the Rogers Rangers. So it talks to you a little bit about the unique counters that are going to be for this game, special spaces. You've got some special units that have some special rules. You've got objective markers here, and more of the same. Here's markers explained. You've got boat movement, leaders, ranger camp, and campaign game. So it's just 2 pages of rules for the Rogers Rangers, but a lot of it's just explaining the unique counters that go in there. Then you're also going to get the counters, which are typical Decision Games, very thin, and usually poke out with a hefty amount of nibs. So I'm not a clipper, but these make you want to clip. So almost said I'm not a drinker, but these make you want to drink. Anyway, so here's an example of the counters there. and then they're dual-sided. Then you're going to get your cards. You have to crack those open. They are sealed for freshness. So you've got your cards here, and you've got Rogers Rangers. I wonder if they all have the same back. Nope, they got some separate backs here. Look, there's 3 of those. And these are mission cards. So you got some missions here: scouting, rescue, and big campaign. And the alert's going to do something on a chart there, basically, alerting. I imagine it's dealing with the AI and bringing them to your location, or alerting them to your presence. You've got your ops, your logistics, command, and success. So those are some missions there. Then you've got these cards, which kind of give you something, I think, like your operation cards that you use and do stuff. And it's interesting because it's going to give you some, they don't have really historical context, but they'll have like historical titles. So these are related to what's going on. Like there's a wilderness challenge, massacre, and tells you what happens there. Indian ambush, French attack, Indian ambush, Montcalm's army. So, these are really kind of the heart of the game and driving stuff forward there. And then you've got a baggie to put your counters because there's not that many. And then you get the map. And here, let's take a look at the map here. And it's thin paper, but it's, like any kind of other map. And it's not too big. As you see, I can put this in the whole frame there. This is, looks like it's a little bit more than a 8.5 by 11. It's maybe legal size, 14 maybe. So you got your Ranger recruit points, your French alert, that was that alert notation we saw. Recruiting chart, because you're going to be buying more units to get on the board. Here's your terrain key. So you got forts and villages and wilderness and mountains and lake routes, river routes, and ground routes. Your terrain effects charts, your Raider units eliminated, Raider recruits. So you got some holding boxes there. Leader escape table, Indian post battle table, demolition results, combat results, and here's a random location chart here. That's going to, when you need to determine a random location, this will help you do that. So you're basically on the, everything's kind of north of Lake Ontario. You got the Adirondack Mountains, and then you've got all these different kind of tracks up here, meaning different things, and got a lot of forts up here as well. So I say north of, here's the north. I guess north is pointing this way, so you're actually east of Lake Ontario, I guess, if that's the way that's going out there. And this is your St. Lawrence Seaway, or St. Lawrence River there. Anyway, there you have it. That is what you get in a bag of Rogers Rangers. I find these relatively enjoyable. I mean, it's not a gaming evening, but it's solitaire, right? So if you've got, it says 60 to 90 minutes. I typically, once you kind of know the rules and know the system, they play in less than 90 minutes, and possibly can play in less than an hour, depending on how good or bad your luck is, right? But the there's a little bit of a puzzle to it, because you have a certain number of locations on this point-to-point map. You're going to be using cards and making decisions on units and stuff like that. So it's not like a solved puzzle that, once you find an optimal point, there's some randomness in the cards, and what comes out with the enemy, and what you do with the alerts and stuff like that, and how active or aggressive they are. So it's not a solved solution like you might find in some solitaire games. There is replayability here and some decisions, and it gives you a very, 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 very high level feel for their subject matter. Like the Heroes of Telemark, I found that interesting. You're doing all these missions and trying to take out these locations in World War II, and it felt thematic and interesting. This one, I assume, gives you a feel of commando raids, commando activities during the French Indian War. Again, not a super serious, detailed simulation, but will give you a high level feel for it, and something that can probably play less than an hour, and you're playing solitaire. What more do you expect, right? I mean, I think these probably serve their purpose in that regard. So if you're getting an itch for some good old fashioned French Indian War commando style raids, well, you can't think of a lot of games that you can probably pull out, put down on a table, and go to town and get some feel for it in less than an hour. So anyway, that's what I have for you today. Love to know what you all think about Rogers Rangers, if you've played it or if you're interested in it, or if you've played the Raider system. That's fair game. What do you think about that system, or in pros and cons? Or the minigame series. Not all the minigame series are part of the Raider series. So what do you think about having these really small format games that really are not heavy on rules, but they're also not going to be heavy on simulation either, or strategy. They're going to be relatively surfacey in that regard, but still give you a taste, right? So these are kind of appetizers to a main meal, or to a heavy meal, and these definitely are not heavy at all. So love to know your thoughts on any of that. This has been kind of a solo week. I've been kind of going in themes. Last week was mostly modern war. The week before that was air, and now this week I've kind of done quite a bit of solo games. So I'm kind of a loner. I'm a loner, Dottie. So anyway, that's what I have for you today. Love to know any of your thoughts. Thanks so much for stopping by, and have a good one. Thanks for watching.